Look his face.
Yeah.
He's dangerous.
He's special.
You can like.
The guy is special. Everything that could possibly be special about this guy is special. A guy like this is the type of guy that you love to watch and follow. The most special guy that I've ever come across.
Hello and welcome back to the Patrick McCorry Sports Show presented by Headrush. Today we have ESPN's top MMA journalist, Brett Okamoto. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. How are you, Patrick?
I'm very good. So, before all the ESPN stuff and at the beginning of your career, what MMA fight did you see and you were like, man, this is the greatest sport on earth?
Well, my career is pretty, I think it's unique in that I actually didn't watch fights before I started covering the sport. I knew I wanted to be a sports journalist when I was like 10 years old. I would go. I got Sports Illustrated when I was a kid. And so like every week I'd go out to the mailbox and grab Sports Illustrated and I read it cover to cover. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a magazine writer. So I went to college for sports journalism. And then I was just looking around for any job I could get out of college. And I moved to Las Vegas and I was covering just random stuff in Las Vegas. And then Lyoto Machida versus Rashad Evans at UFC 98. They said, hey, do you want to go to that one and cover it? And I was like, yeah, of course. I knew nothing about MMA at all. Like I had probably seen like a couple clips of like Matt Hughes and GSP at that time. And like, I had no idea what it was about. I'd never watched a full fight. And I went to UFC 98 and, some of the old school fans will recall that Lyoto knocked him out. That was when Lyoto became a champion. And it was pretty much from then, man, that I was like, dude, this is fun. This is a fun sport to cover. You get great interviews, you get great access to the athletes. Like the athletes are super interesting. So from that point on, man, I basically just covered only MMA, which is crazy because when I was a kid, I thought for sure I'd be covering like, baseball, basketball, football, just all the traditional American sports. And then I saw the UFC 98 and I was like, hey, this looks like a fun career. And I've been covering it like full time ever since.
And so when you were younger, right, you looked through Sports Illustrated and all that. Were you always motivated towards your goals? Did you always want to push and get where you are? Or were you a little lazier when you were younger?
I was pretty driven. Like I said, I was just one of those lucky people that knew what they wanted to do. I just loved sports, man. I mean, of course I still do. I loved competing in sports. I guess I was just realistic when I was a kid and I was like, I wasn't bad at sports, but I knew I wasn't going to go to like the NFL, the NBA. I knew I wasn't going to play Major League Baseball. So I was like, my life needs to have sports involved in them in some way, and then I really liked to write. I like to write. I like to read. So, so once I made that decision, I was pretty driven, man. I've worked. I did internships. During college, I was like looking around for jobs that would put me in the industry. So yeah, I was working towards my goals pretty early on.
When you were in high school, did you like write for a paper or anything? Do you recall the first piece of writing you ever wrote that got published?
Yeah, well, I've kept a journal since I was in middle school, which I would encourage everybody to do, even if they don't like to write. And then, I worked at my high school newspaper, which was just like, your run of the mill high school newspaper. I don't think there was anything too crazy going on there, but then, I knew, like I lived in a small town, so they had a newspaper. And so like me just asking like, hey, can I write a story for the newspaper? They were like, yeah. So that was kind of my first like professional work was newspaper articles, like writing about high school sports and stuff like that.
When you were hired by ESPN, how did they go about it? Did they email you or contact you and say, hey, we want to bring you in? Or what was it like?
Pretty sweet story, actually. I was in the airport flying to Boston. I want to say it was when Gray Maynard was fighting Kenny Florian. And I think that was the same card that Randy Couture fought James Toney. I might be wrong on that. But anyway, I was in the airport. I was working for a newspaper at the time, but the newspaper was super into UFC. Like they were flying me to Boston to cover that fight because Gray was from Las Vegas. He actually grew up in Vegas and trained in Vegas. And so did Randy, obviously. Yeah. So I was waiting to board my flight and I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. And the guy was like, hey, I'm so-and-so. And we see that you cover UFC. ESPN is wanting to get into it. They want to start covering it. Up to that point, they really had it. And they're like, would you have interest in working for ESPN? And I was like, yeah, of course, and that was it. I started working for them like I started working for them like maybe 3-4 months later.
Now, is juggling your work? Because of MMA, there's a lot of deadlines. Cards are essentially every weekend. In your personal life, difficult for you? You have a young son, and deadlines. Is that hard for you to manage, or have you got it down now?
I feel like I've got it down. I'm very lucky because I work from home. So when I am home, I'm home. Like I'm not. I'm like I'm just there in my house, So I get the luxury of like getting to wake up and spend time with my son and like feed him breakfast, and then I can start my day. And it just, even like the little breaks I get during the day, I can spend time with my family because I'm just there. The hardest part is definitely the travel. And it's tough, and I'm sure as my son gets older, it's going to be tougher, and he starts getting into activities and stuff. That's the one thing that really is tough about covering this sport, is it's your weekends. Like your Saturdays are always taken up covering fights, and then your Sundays are like a lot of times just flying back to Las Vegas and if wherever I'm at, and then you're tired and all that. But I mean, that's like one complaint about a job that's amazing. Like I love my job. So it's juggling. I'm sure everybody juggles their personal and professional life, but I'm lucky because I get to work from home.
Are you in a hotel room right now, or are you at home?
Yeah, I'm in a hotel room right now.
Waiting. Are you gonna cover the fights then this weekend?
Yeah, I'm at PFL. That's in Dallas.
Okay.
And then I'll fly back, and then UFC has a card in Las Vegas on Saturday.
In your long work of MMA, where was the favorite place you traveled to work and cover a UFC event?
Man, that's a good question. I've been very, very lucky, man. I've traveled to a lot of cool places. Tokyo stands out. I was there a long time ago. I was there for that would have been Benson Henderson, Frankie Edgar was the main event for that one. And I think Showtime knocked out Joe Lozon with like a crazy kick in that one. Tokyo is just one of those places where like sometimes you'll get in a plane and you'll fly a really long way and you'll get out and you'll be like, this is like when I fly to Australia, I'm like, it feels like I'm still in the United States. When I flew to Tokyo, I was like, no, I'm in Tokyo. Like it just feels different. So Tokyo stands out. Vancouver is like a great city in Canada. I love going there for fights, although I haven't in a while. Yeah, I mean, it was very recent, so maybe it's just fresh in my mind. But London in March was incredible. So yeah, there's a lot of answers to that question.
Who's your favorite person to work with ESPN? You work with a lot of different journalists. Who's your favorite person to work alongside with?
I mean, Mark Raimondi is like obviously a close friend of mine. He's he and I are kind of the ones who are working on the sport the most, and bouncing ideas off of each other and everything. My editorial team I've known for years now, but this is going to sound cliche, but everybody, man, it's like we were talking about the travel. I mean, you travel with people and you end up spending a lot of time with these people. So if you don't like them, that would be very unfortunate, and luckily I mean, we like everyone from our cameramen and our producers and the people that like do the nuts and bolts and like the logistics of everything that we're doing on the road. We all have a great time together. We go out to dinners together, we travel together, we're on planes together. So I mean, there's some fun answers of like, I've gotten to work with Stephen A and Max Kellerman, and like I've gotten to do work with those guys, and those guys are always great. But of course, I'm going to say like I enjoy the people that I work with on a daily basis the most.
When your son grows up, do you think you will take him to as many MMA events as you can? When you go, he'll tag along, or what's your plan with that?
If he wants to, he's actually he's coming down to Phoenix, and he's going to go to UFC 274. It's going to be his first event that he's ever been at. Yeah, so he's going to fly down with my wife, and yeah, we'll see how he likes it. He's been to a couple weigh-ins, and he seems pretty interested in it. So we'll see how he does.
Now I'm gonna ask you. You don't have to answer this, but are there any fights that you're hearing rumors of that you could announce maybe on this show? Any sneaky ones?
Nothing that I can announce on the show. I mean, I think all like nothing that I can announce that's like officially done, you know. The fights that I'm expecting and that I believe that the UFC are working on are the ones that you kind of know about, you know.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, man. Keep doing your thing. Keep doing this. Yeah, you're very good. You're knowledgeable. Just
Thank
keep
you.
doing what you're doing. You're getting fighters on your Instagram
Yeah.
page, I saw.
Yeah.
So yeah, best of luck to you.
Thank you.